Hi YouTube, my name is Joe, and I am a husband of one, a father of five, a teacher by day, and in my spare time an aspiring homesteader. I heat with wood. I heat with cordwood, firewood that I process and cut off my own property. Join me in a collaboration with a few of my friends as we look at how we heat our home. I'm excited about this collaboration because people are participating in it from all over the place, from down south to Canada to here in Michigan, and so I look forward to tagging on and inviting my friend Bill at Stoney Creek Heritage Farm. Also look forward to inviting my friends at the Bois Homestead up in Canada. Another tag and invite is to the Serenity Mountain Homestead. And then another one of our friends is Spicy over at Backwoods Raised. So many different angles and so many different viewpoints on this. I'm really excited to see how not only how people burn with wood, but also with propane or fuel oil. A couple other tags that we have is we have Angela over at the Practical Modern Homestead, and along with that we have Hubbard's Hillside Homestead. And so thanks for joining us. Enjoy. Make sure you go through the playlist. I'm sure that more people will get tagged and the playlist will grow. And hopefully this will be a good learning experience for all of us. Thanks and enjoy. So YouTube, thank you for joining me as we take a look at how I heat my home and how other people heat their home. Because whether you garden, there's so many different methods of gardening, and whether you raise animals, chickens is my thing. I keep them in a run. Some people free range. Some people keep them inside of a barn. We do things differently, but we try to become independent with these methods. So we're going to take a look at how I heat. I heat with firewood. I heat with cordwood that I harvest off my own land. Most of it's dead standing or storm fallen. Some of it is green and alive that is just taken out through thinning methods. When my wife and I were looking for property, I'll back up a little bit. At our first home, we had a wood stove that we ended up replacing with a better wood stove, and then I had a neighbor and a friend that I was able to cut firewood with. I purchased some wood, I brought it in, and that love affair began, but we weren't sustainable in 2 acres, 2.5 acres as far as firewood went. So we were looking for a piece of property, we were looking for wooded property. As you can see, that's what we mostly have here. To the quick end of it, we have 20 acres here, about 14 of it's wooded. About half of that is what I call new wood, so 40 to 50-year-old trees. The back 7 acres is kind of an older growth, 100-year-old trees, 80 to 100 years old. After that, it's kind of wet, they fall down and rot. So a good mix. And so our first step is we cut the trees, bring them to rounds, put them in a trailer, we pull them up to this area of our property. This is where we split and we stack. And so what you see here is you can see that with age they darken, and these are our wood stacks. I like to double stack, and that is how I stack it. Usually I get skid wood that comes underneath the bottom of lumber bundles, so it's usually you know, around 4x4s, or I'll find treated 4x4s. I've even used just logs. Try to get it off the ground, because that bottom course will rot if you don't. And it will sit in this pile for 2 to 3 years. Our first couple years, we would cut in the spring, burn in the fall, and that'll work good if you get dead standing ash. But with a EPA secondary combustion stove, you want it to be good, seasoned, and dry. So we will let it sit here for a couple years. And then, if you've seen any of my earlier videos, you will see that I have built these skids out of pallets. They're it's kind of an evolution. I've gotten better and better at producing these so they don't fall apart, but you could still see that, you know, some of the boards right there, you could see how they peeled away. So we will put these on skids, and then we will haul these into the barn. So let's go into the barn. So in the barn, we move these pallets with tractor 3-point forks, and pretty simple. They're homemade forks. There's nothing special about them. But with a little Kubota, I'm limited on how much wood I can move. I have a friend that has one of these that he could pick up a half a cord at a time with his Bobcat. Kubota cannot do that. So usually I'll put about 3 or 4 of these pallets in the barn, and while they're in the barn, they don't take up a bunch of space, but they're able to just dry, get any rain moisture off of them. You know, the barn is pretty ventilated, so they'll dry out pretty good while they sit here. And then we'll take them to the garage. So let's go to the garage. So then once again, I will use that tractor to move each pallet into the garage. And once I get into the garage, I have space on the inside of the garage where I can put these 3 pallets, and this is where they'll stay. We can come out and we can grab what we need. We can kind of select through as you need different sizes. As far as starting fires, since I teach wood shop, I can bring home assorted scraps. And so there you go. So all sorts of different scraps that, you know, once it gets too small for the students to actually use, sometimes a piece will get in there. I take it back up, let them practice on the bandsaw with it or something. And so I'll use those scraps. I use a small propane stove to light the fire, and then we can haul it into the house. Now I've taken you through all the different steps from you know, stacking and seasoning and transporting the wood, and this is where the action happens. And so this is our wood stove that we use. It is a Lopi Republic. It's no fans, no catalyst. It is what we call a secondary combustion stove, and this heats our home all but a few hours a year. Now, with that being said, there is quite a learning curve with building a fire inside of a wood stove, and you'll notice that this is you know, it's not a real full fire by any means, because it's 40 degrees out right now. So you know, if you choose to heat with wood, you got to kind of learn what you know, how big to build the fire. A couple things that we've added on to kind of help out is we do have a ceiling fan right above the wood stove, and that helps circulate the heat quite a bit. Second thing that we have is right above it is a pass-through that was actually in the house, and we were able to reposition it so that it can get the heat upstairs. Another thing that makes a big difference is our chimney is right in the center of the house, so that we have a really good strong draft. This was a old 4-square, which basically meant that we had 4 rooms on each floor, and so the chimney's in the middle, creates a really great draft. So let's go downstairs and see the furnace. Now, with all this talk about heating with firewood, I think that it's valuable to be transparent. 8 years ago, when we purchased this house and we kind of gutted and added on and made it livable, we did go and purchased and have put in a propane. I'm not sure if it's 95 or 98%, but whatever was modern 8 years ago, we had that installed. It gets utilized. We try to run it for 2-3 hours a couple times a season just to keep it operational. We do use it for the air conditioning during the summer, but I want to be transparent and say, hey, we're not off grid. We do use the wood, 99.5% of the time, but we do keep this operational in case of injury, in case we want to resell the house. It's good to have a furnace, and so wanted to be transparent with you on that. So I can't thank you guys enough for spending your time with me. This has really become more of a passion than anything, is knowing that I can do that. I can actually heat my own home. I don't just adjust a thermostat, that I'm very much involved in it. Now, I know that everyone's in different situations, and that's why I qualify that, because wood stoves are almost illegal in some areas, some towns. Wood's not available in some places. Propane or natural gas is your only option, or fuel oil is your only option. And so this is just how we do it here on our farm. With that being said, if you have questions, please ask. I'm looking forward to seeing how other people do it. How other people, I think about outdoor burners. I know that Eric over in Farmland has an add-on that he uses, SSL Family Dad, I think it is. He just put a cook stove in. Lots of different ways that we heat our home, and it's neat to see how other people do it. And so, thanks for joining me. Show some support to the people who are contributing to this collaboration, and and stay warm and have a great day. Bye now.